All right, welcome to the Tryhards podcast. TR. So I've titled it. This is the first time Brad and Ryan are hearing the title, and the spelling is TRI-hards because there's three of us.
Oh my god!
Now,
you're so witty, you're almost Kanye West.
Now let me. All right, well that's a great lead-in. If I didn't have another thing already planned, so I just want to clarify with you guys. So TRI hards, would you say that that's like, really stretching for the pun? Do you agree with that? That's really stretching to make that pun happen?
Yes.
All right, and
But not that there's anything wrong with that.
And is it not a desperate attempt to be funny, or witty?
Yes.
All right.
I mean, that's everything you do, so it fits.
Exactly. Yes. So it fits in the tries too hard brand. A right. So anyway, so what we do on this podcast, or this podcast on the Eric Tries Too Hard podcast network. I'm a company man. No. So
You're a regular Chris Hardwick.
Yeah. Right. He at least had the humility not to name it like the Nerdist Hardwick Chris. Okay, forget the Nerdist part. Chris Hardwick Enterprises. So what we do is we take an album that on our panel of the three of us, one of the tryhards loves and is knowledgeable about, or is just knowledgeable about. That's fine. One person, someone will have not have ever heard the record until we did this podcast, and someone will absolutely hate the record. Now,
Eric, I think this might be the second time in. Might actually break your format.
Oh,
I think your plans.
All right, that's
But
interesting.
it's not as much hate. It's just unfamiliar with, at least, right?
Yeah, sure, we can do that. I was going to say, but those things didn't have to be mutually exclusive. So, yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to be hate. I just was waiting for you guys to pull up an album that I hated so I could bash it. Am I not going to get that opportunity? All right.
I know.
No, we'll do some Beatles.
Yeah, we'll do some Beatles? All right.
I think that's just going to be a bass fest from all of us. Well, unless Brad, you like the Beatles.
Oh, no, I'm excited for the ones where me and Ryan hate something that Brad loves, and it's just going to be like a complete, misery for him. Anyway, but today we are doing... I'm so excited about this one. We're doing Kanye West's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, one of my favorite records of all time, and completely coincidentally, this is our second episode, may not air in order, but second episode that we've done, and the first one, just like this one, is also rated 10 out of 10 by Pitchfork, a perfect Pitchfork score.
How much are we going to keep...
You already look frustrated.
holding up Pitchfork as like the pinnacle of quality ratings.
Oh, well, we're in my head. It's just a wacky coincidence that both records that we've done are. It's not that often that I agree with Pitchfork on anything.
Don't worry. When I pick my records, I don't think that Pitchfork even reviews prog rock, so that won't happen.
I remember the first time I looked up 311 on Pitchfork. I was like, I got to see what they say about them, and they're like, no search, or like no search.
There's like one Porcupine Tree record that was reviewed on Pitchfork, and then after that, I think Porcupine Tree just stopped sending records to them.
All right, so with this record, has a really cool history. I'm gonna do my best to. I didn't reread the history of it because I knew that I would just talk for a whole hour, and so which this isn't a stretch, but like. So the record has a pretty cool history, and Brad, feel free to jump in if you know anything that I don't know, or whatever it is, or if you have any other background. For instance, I did not watch any of the crazy amount of videos that they put out for this. I guess he put out a bunch of like trippy promo videos that were like.
And there's like the half-hour Runaway video.
Yeah, never saw the half-hour Runaway video.
Yeah.
I barely finished listening to this record, and I listened to like half of it yesterday when I was doing the dishes.
How long does it take you to do dishes? It's like an 80-minute record.
No, I just did. It only took half the record, and then I was like, meh, okay. And then I threw it on this morning with some some good headphones, and barely finished. I had to skip a little bit of some, so.
All right. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So leading up to the record, as I'm sure everyone knows who Kanye West is at this point, but a quick a recap for people who may not have been following his career from the beginning. His first three records, he was just your prototypical I guess I should just say typical because I'm forgetting what prototypical means. Our typical.
Makes you sound smart though.
Yeah, right. I'll tell you. Well, this part doesn't. Our typical backpacking like underground rapper. Guy who's always got his notepad, loves sampling like old school songs and making them into hip hop beats. But he was like the first guy who took the sound of, granted they were getting on TV through Dave Chappelle mostly, but like Mos Def, Talib Kweli, Gangstar was one that I always loved. But these are with the exception of Wu-Tang, who kind of did that, but with a gangster version lyrically. Kanye was the first person to have that underground hip hop sound really blow up on mainstream radio, and he really merged the two worlds perfectly. I felt on those first 3 records.
He kind of made sampling popular again.
Yeah, he was very critically acclaimed. He still is, but like the public everybody loved this guy.
And his sample, there's one sample that got me very excited in this record.
We'll get to it, I assume?
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay.
We'll definitely get to it.
That's what we should just call this. We'll get to it podcast. Listen, we'll get it.
Where we never actually talk about the record, we just talk about talking about the record.
Exactly. So what we'll do, God damn it. All right, so derailing my train of thought. So then he put out, granted there was some controversy stuff during those years in the media, and which I could not have been happier about. I love this guy. But when he put out we're just talking music here. So musically, then he put out a record after all the auto-tune vocoder stuff got very popular, called 808s and Heartbreak. And it was a completely different album than any he had done in the past. A lot more auto-tune stuff, or auto-tune stuff in the first place, and less rapping. The lyrical content was very different, and I don't know this exact timeline, but I believe I think his mom passed away not that long before he was making the record or whatever it was. So that was another big.
His mom passed away. It was almost like a year before the album came out. So while he was making it, she had just passed away.
Wow. Yeah, and so one of the things that blows my mind about this? I hope it's not too awful that I'm just talking about this. It's a horribly depressing subject, but she died from complications during plastic surgery, and Kanye's whole thing, like lyrically in those first 3 records, he always talked about it was like his best insight and one of his best insights and his biggest Achilles heel was his vanity, and he was all about he would write songs about it's so hard for me to not want to be like a shopaholic and make me not want to look the best I possibly can when I go out. I wish I could I don't know, it's just a very that thing he always struggled with. I think poorly about myself because of these choices, but I can't stop making them. And the fact that, and then he became a big, celebrity and still was really pushing, doing what he could, obviously gave in plenty to pushing against, the whole materialistic culture. He's always trying to get away from that. And then his mom passes away in plastic surgery, an elective plastic surgery, and that's kind of for someone whose biggest fear is vanity and what vanity can do to you as a person, that's unbelievable. That's such a crazy, and so there was a lot of real pain in that record. So
is this the first record where he encapsulated that kind of that questioning of the materialistic culture and pushback towards it? Is this the first record where he did that when he was at the peak of his fame, essentially?
I'd have to go re-listen to Graduation. I know he definitely did on his first record, College Dropout, and then I believe there was a track or two where I'm remembering that from Late Registration. He might have just moved on from that subject by Graduation because he'd done it a million times.
But this is the first record that addresses that topic with him in a somewhat different life position.
I think so. It's hard to tell because he sold millions of records of the first one. So by the second record, which yeah. So but it's not. This is, trust me, he goes into a lot of new places on this record for sure.
Oh yeah.
So 808s and Heartbreaks though was critically reviled. People hate, and fans too. People hated that record. And so he was like, well, what do I do now? This is the first bit of major his career trajectory was make beats for a label, get signed to do really big beats for like really successful rap artists, get signed to do his own music. He felt he was really talented and really hardworking, but that doesn't mean that you just get to ascend the ladder. But he did. This was kind of his first, in my opinion, big like flop of, oh shit, I'm not like musically. Turns out I'm not bulletproof. Like I can't just put out. And it's not like I think the record was fine, but that's just the perception that came out. It was just.
Well, it's kind of interesting though, and I think this bleeds into some themes that he talked about. He fed people what they want, and that's auto-tune, because at that point in time, auto-tune was all anyone in the mainstream, you know, Billboard top,
Yes.
whatever. That's all anyone was doing. So he went all out, and he was like, if you people
Like
want
that.
this, here you go. This record's all auto-tune. I mean, so it's kind of ironic that what we as a culture wanted turned out to be a massive flop.
Yeah, that's not ironic at all. That makes perfect sense to me. It's weird. Another coincidence. It's a very Rivers Cuomo problem. Would you say, Brad?
Yeah.
He's very open about, I want to write the next big like hit. How do I do that? Even as a lyric in a song, I guess I should collaborate with, was it Timberland or whatever, and make a hit song. And
Because he knows
did.
the way to the top of the charts.
yes, freaking complete lyric. All right, so moving to this record, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So he, after
So
all
wait, that
this-
was the setup for the setup?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Kanye is a very complicated person. Tryhards. So
Don't.
he he put himself in what he called the self-imposed exile in Hawaii. He basically rented out a bunch of studios. I think it was about 3 months that he was there. Rented out some studios, so he had this 24/7 access to whatever he could possibly need. He flew out a bunch of his producers, some writers, some collaborators. He also, throughout the process, this I actually did look up the list for, but through the process of making this, whether or not these people were included in the final record, and you'll hear some of these names that you'll notice were not on the record, but these are the people who participated in the sessions for the record. Raekwon, the chef from Wu-Tang, RZA from Wu-Tang, Pusha T, Rick Ross, it's a lot of people you've actually heard on the record.
Elton John's on it, right?
Elton John, yeah, I can't wait to tell you when we get to that song. But also, people who who believe were not on it: Common, Eminem, Lil Wayne. Who else was? And then I think those are the big names of people. Beyonce, but I think she might have been one of the amalgamations in the All the Lights sound. Or I could be wrong, but Seal. There were a whole bunch of really famous people who did not end up even on the record.
Wow.
Yeah, what was Seal's big hit? Kiss from a Rose or whatever?
Yeah.
Kanye.
And I'm so interested to hear a Kanye and Seal collaboration.
All right,
wow.
So yeah. I feel like it's like Seal would sing love songs, then Kanye would hype man, but make him about himself. And the kiss and the rose. Okay, so with the record, he basically spent months on it. I can only imagine what it cost to have all this stuff done. But he used so many people and so many. And one of the stories that I read about him making Late Registration, so 3 albums prior, that always sticks with me and makes me. It's a thing that, along with the history of this record, Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, he's basically like the Trey Parker of music in how much he works. Like if you watch that South Park 6 Days to Air thing, Kanye would be the guy who's there all night making sure everything gets done, redoing things over and over again. And there's a great story that his ex-girlfriend told about making Late Registration. He was in the studio, been there all day. He was deciding, I believe it was a track that had, might have been the Adam Levine track, might have been a different feature. I could be wrong. I also could be wrong about the album. Who gives a shit? But it was it was between Macy Gray and somebody else, right? And he had recorded a hook with both of them. Same song, same hook, both of them. And he wasn't sure which one he wanted better. He just couldn't figure it out. His producers, everyone had a different opinion. And he would just go back and forth. And so then that night, he's still in the studio. Everybody's long gone. He's still in the studio. And the janitor comes in. And he's like, who do you like better? And the janitor tells him, and he goes, all right, that's who it is. And he made that choice, and he would also do things like he would ask any passerby, do you like this part? Do you think it's good enough? And if they didn't say, like, that's amazing, he'd delete it and redo it or rewrite it. Like, it didn't matter if it was the janitor or his producer or, like, whatever. Yeah. The guy will do the things over. So I can only imagine and knowing how dense this record is with music, with the lyrics, the amount of time and effort that went into this, the amount of songs we've never heard from it, the amount of, like, this is a whole, like, the fact that this record, this should have been Chinese Democracy. This should have never come out. This should have been, like, 30 years in the making, and it should have all fallen apart. But it's out, and it is one of my favorite records of all time.
I think you can really tell the time that went into it, too, and, like, the thought and the care, because it's just so thought out and lush. And
it's a lush. I'm going to say it again, lush. So, okay, so do you want to just jump into the record?
Let's do it.
Or should I? Okay. So, the first song, Dark Fantasy, one of the coolest intros. Ryan, do you know what that intro is? The talking intro? The British lady talking?
I don't remember.
British lady?
I only listened to this record like 1.5 times, so I didn't really memorize that.
So it's Nicki Minaj. I thought he sampled he either had a British lady come in or he was
really?
Yeah. Oh wow.
For how long?
I don't know, 2 years, a year.
Oh my god.
Yeah. I
have some notes on Nicki a little bit later that I'd like to get to. Yeah.
Well, we can get to it on the back end. Does that sound good?
Get your face on the back.
I feel like it's so like especially the zip it listen line is like so distinctively Nicki.
Yeah, I didn't know shit about Nicki Minaj until like the first time I heard her was on that Kesha Britney Spears song, which I love, and then again on Monster. And those are the only times I'd heard her, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But you're right, no, the zip it listen. God, that intro is so banging. So I love that the first line in this is, I fantasized about this back in Chicago. He sets up the entire record with one line that, like, could not be, I mean, it's obviously very simple, but it could not be more perfect for, like, that's all you need to know. And he's setting you, I don't know, he probably didn't, this thing with Kanye, I can never tell when he does something genius on purpose, or if it's just, like, really thought out for a long time, or if he's just that naturally talented and he's, like, if he wrote that, he might have just been like, well, yeah, I fantasized about this back in Chicago, and that's gonna rhyme with some stuff that I'm interested in. That'll be fun. Or if he was like, or if he spent all this time, how am I going to open this record with the perfect line that will tie everything together, that will set it up just right? Or did he just go, I fantasized about this back in Chicago, and then was like, oh, that's going to be a good line to open it up. It'll be perfect. You know what I mean? Like, I just cannot tell what level of genius this guy's operating on, but it's great. Now, this first track, granted, it sets it up pretty well that way. I love the Nicki Minaj intro, and then that opening line. Granted, the next, like, 3.5 minutes is a cool song, but he's just really thrown it back to, like, not old school hip hop, but, like, battle hip hop, like underground hip hop, where he's just talking shit. He's just being clever, talking shit for the next 3 minutes. So I didn't, unless there's something that somebody else is picking out that I didn't.
I love that line. Where he's like, he got so much head he woke up in Sleepy Hollow.
You like that line?
I love that line, and then he references Ichabod Crane in a later song, which I mean. This record gave me a lot. It really kind of made me do a 180 on Kanye.
It took you 4 times to say that sentence because you didn't want to say that sentence.
I didn't want to say it, but I'm saying, like, I tried really hard. Like, you know, when we did the Weezer, when we did Pinkerton, there were some things that I was stretching on, but I actually struggled to find stretches to kind of to make fun of with this record. There's so much. There's so many levels to this record that kind of just blew my mind. I don't know.
Ryan, you're opening my mind about you. I gotta be honest. There was a point where I was just like, Ryan likes what he likes, and there's no way I'm ever gonna get him to like it.
I mean, I went into this assuming that I was going to be a total dick, but
you know,
I don't know. It was when I sat with it, and I went on Genius.com to look up all the lyrics, which there's something that's great that comes with it. We'll get when we get to that song. There's something that's fantastic, but the music is just like the beat in Dark Fantasy. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's catchy. His lyrics are incredibly witty.
Too clever.
That I almost I'm almost wondering if it's really him who wrote them. But then I get through the entire record, and I'm like, I definitely recognize that it most likely was him who wrote it. Like, I mean, it seems like he is.
And I'm sure he went around
some sort of genius.
I'm sure he went around to his bunch of his producers and stuff. That's what bands do. That's what everyone does. And was like, "What do you think of this? Could you help me punch it up?" Like, because that's the thing that's what's weird about hip hop and comedy are like the two places where, and I guess rock too, but where it's like lyrics are like, no, it has to be the guy who's saying the lyrics or is the one who wrote it. But the truth is, or at least it has to just be one person. Yeah. But the truth is, that's not how art is made in almost any fashion. And so it's like, and it's perfectly fine for lots of comedy writers to do it, but not stand-ups for some reason. It's like, you can let people punch up your shit. Mm-hmm. In fact, that happens everywhere. And Kanye is one of those people where things will be like well-known secrets, like rappers having other rappers punch up their material. But then Kanye will be the first one to come out and say it, and then everyone goes, "Oh, Kanye's blah blah blah. It's all him." And it's like, well, that's bullshit. Like, he's actually being honest with people.
It seems like with Kanye, his kryptonite is almost himself, but his superpower is surrounding himself by other really talented people that are somehow able to get him.
Yeah. Well, that's I was about to say, I was like, well, I don't know if he's always been like that, but both Dave Chappelle and Neil Brennan have relayed the story about when he was a featured guest. Well, he wasn't like the musical guest. It was, I think, somebody else. Or Common, I think, was the musical guest, and Kanye did DJing for him and hype man stuff. And when they were watching edits in the editing room, Kanye picks up his phone, and he goes, he's like, "Hello?" And he's like, I can't talk right now. I'm in the editing booth with Dave Chappelle. And he goes, "Why? Because my life is dope and I do dope shit." He's always been like that. That was right at shortly after. That was before his first time on television. That was him recording his first time on television. All right, so let's move ahead to "Gorgeous," which is what's very weird about this song to me is that the beat is amazing, the lyrics are great, vocals are great. Is it just me, or are the drums the quietest thing in the history of drums? Oh, maybe you don't. You won't remember, Ryan. Don't worry about it.
I do remember it being the tone of the song was much different than.
And I feel like that has to be intentional. They had to. Maybe they were I might be stretching it, but it almost felt like it was well, this is the most throwback underground hip-hop song on the record.
Yeah, I mean, the song's name is Gorgeous, but it sounds much more... It sounds raw. I mean, and that after listening to this record, it seems like that's typical Kanye for throwing...
Like Fall Out Boy's Save Rock and Roll, and then they use 3 guitars throughout the whole...
No, I mean, Kanye seems to be one for significant contrast, and so it would not surprise me if that was highly intentional.
Yeah. When I remember in the promotion for Yeezus, when he was doing all these interviews, I remember him saying how he felt like drums were his biggest struggle, and he never really mastered drums, and so on Yeezus he really made an effort to bring people in who were good at drums to learn from them and have a good drum record. So maybe this is just an example of him not quite getting drums.
Oh, maybe, yeah. I mean, I like the drums. I just wish they were louder. Well, so I wanted to go through real quick. Where's that line?
The AIDS line?
No, but that's hold on. I actually found it. Oh yeah, well so here, just to set, I do want to do one little last bit of setup. The first half of this record is very much it's almost like a polished version of Kanye's old stuff, or even more polished, or more expansive, I should say, not polished, because it's all those songs they're almost slightly progressive versions of just straight up like hip hop. He like, in my opinion, he kind of went back to those roots for the first half of the record, and then the second half, like right as Monster starts to end, like it really kicks into the quote unquote story. And so, which I love the way that flows. So this is another track where it's a lot of just clever shit. And this time he's getting more, socio-political, which he is want to do. And he does have that line, I treat cash the way the government treats AIDS. I won't be satisfied till all my N-words get it. And he asks if we get it. And every time that song comes on, as much as I love the song, I go, yes, Kanye, we get it. It could not have been more clear. You could have said get it once, and I've been like, okay, I see. You're saying make sure you actually listen to this part. But he said it.
Eric, you're just upset that you see yourself in that.
In get what?
It. Get it.
Because I have A. Right. Where's the? Is this the? This is the one with the South Park line in it. That's what I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
I just like it. It's even an offhand comment. Just choke a South Park writer with a fish stick.
And I love that. Like he's like, he gets it. He's in on the joke. He understands.
Yeah, and he's he's firing one back, which is right. That's all I have to say on Gorgeous. Is there anything else before we move on? I want to focus more time on this latter half.
Oh, I did like. Oh, is it the? Hold on, let me find it. Is it the last line? Where'd it go?
Yeah, you keep finding it.
I love the line.
I got it. Because people that tried to blackball me forgot about two things: my black balls, and the way he delivers my black balls is just dropping the mic, and I love that. That made me.
I love the line, and what's a black beetle anyway? A fucking roach? I guess that's why they got me in sitting in fucking coach.
Yeah, that was a great line. Oh my god. That's the other thing about this record is like the story is so good in and of itself, the music is so good, and then you go, oh, also you can just pick out so many fuking punchlines and so much clever shit that it's almost like it just seems so easy for him, and oh my god, it's fucking great. That's why Yeezus has grown on me, and I know Yeezus is kind of like fan-wise more beloved than this record, but that's why.
I wouldn't say so.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, for me, it was like, a lot of Kanye fans I
love it.
Aren't huge. Oh, yeah, I guess so. Well, with Yeezus, when I first heard it, what I wanted was another Twisted Fantasy, and when I didn't get that, I got the opposite of that. And I was like, man, damn it. I guess I'll have to go listen to the record Camp by what's Donald Glover's name?
Childish Gambino.
Yeah, Childish Gambino, because that was basically an attempt at Twisted Fantasy, or I think it's Puff Daddy's Last Train to Paris, which is also an attempt to make this record. If you listen to those, and with this in mind, it's like, oh, they're trying to do that. All right, so moving on to Power. This is the first of the hits off the record. Now, the record, whenever I tell people that I love this record who aren't Kanye fans, who just like know him through the media and know the singles, I'm like, oh, what hits are off that record? And I say the hits, and I'm like, never heard it.
Yeah, I think the first time I heard anything from this record was at a Durham Bulls game where they played like the first 10 seconds.
Yeah. Well, they played Runaway.
They played as like walk-up music or pump-up music.
They played Runaway on a couple of commercials when the record came out. Power was used in 2 different Aaron Sorkin films in the previews. This song was in the Social Network preview. And they even had lines from it. That's where no one man can have all this power.
This is definitely the biggest song from this.
Yeah. I'm realizing is this the sample that got Ryan excited?
Damn straight.
What is that? Is that Sabbath?
It's King Crimson.
I don't know who that is. That's the Marvel character.
Yes, 100% right. No, King Crimson of the fame of Court of the Crimson King, one of the greatest prog records of all time, gave me some sort of idea that either Kanye or his producer is a really massive closet prog nerd and probably has a extensive prog rock collection, and that made me happy, even if it is fantasy.
Well, if Aziz Ansari is to believe, Kanye just sits around and listens to his own music. So this record, he kind of starts going into. This is still a punchline. I like it. First song was very much punchlines, but with a cool, like, sad kind of beat. The second song was punchlines, but it all had to do with socio-political stuff. This one, he starts to get into his real life, but it's still punchlines. And it took me forever to notice these lines. fuck SNL and fuck the whole cast. Tell them Yeezy said they can kiss my whole ass. More specifically, they can kiss my asshole. I'm an asshole. You got jokes. I said the phrase, you got jokes to Saturday Night Live. It's like, well, yeah, obviously, but like, yeah, they do bash him plenty, and I think they're dead on a lot of the time. But man, like hearing that, like I just love I love comedy, but nobody ever fires back at comedians except for like bloggers, and that's annoying. But like when celebrities who get shit on come back at them with that, makes me so happy. I'm not a huge Mark Wahlberg fan by any means, but when he will just go like, you know, you were real an asshole when you did that. Like I love that. They even wrote that into an SNL thing for that matter. But yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else in this one in particular, because it's like it just feels like it's very much like, yeah, he's a celebrity, yeah, he's a successful.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I feel like it's a lot of bravado, and he's not really getting into anything too deep on this song.
I thought that there it was laced with some commentary. Then it just goes like straight full ego, which I thought was an interesting contrast.
Well, and one thing I really
macro to micro.
One line that was really interesting. Was they say I was the abomination of Obama's nation. Well, that's a pretty bad way to start a conversation. Early on in his presidency, Obama was asked, "Oh, what do you think of Kanye West?" Which is a really shitty question to ask a president. And it was right after the Taylor Swift thing. And so Obama just goes, that guy's an ass. And around that same time, Obama's big speech thing was, we're going to reach across the aisle and we're going to start a conversation. We're going to start a conversation with Republicans. And so the way that Kanye twisted that, and he goes, that's a real good way to start a conversation. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. I'm from your same city. I'm fighting for the same things you're fighting for. Thanks so much for that. Thanks for giving them, the Republicans, all the credit and all the patience in the world, but I'm an ass. And then he instantly jumps into 6 lines about how he's literally having sex with himself. And then at the end, this is another one where it sounds like a typical 3-minute Kanye song. Great beat, great lyrics. Maybe not as much substance, but great lyrics. And then it has this weird coda where they're singing about I'll jump out the window, I'm letting everything go, and it's like, I don't know, man. It just really sets up, we're going into something a lot deeper here. Like the intro sets that up too. This isn't a normal Kanye record. There's something much bigger at play, and he's just touching on each aspect of it before he dives into the whole thing.
And the choice to sample 21st Century Schizoid Man is, I mean, that
bought some cred with you?
It bought a ton of cred with me instantly. That's part of my 180. But I mean that song in particular. I mean that sample, just that one line fits just so well with the tone of this record and the theme.
Especially like being that transition from Power into All the Lights.
Oh, with the piano? I was gonna get into that. Yeah.
Or just like not even just like thematically.
Yeah. And so
also that synth at the end is delicious.
Yeah, no, it's a beautiful, beautiful transition. Yeah. And then they go into All the Lights, so that All of the Lights noise that you hear, Ryan, that All of the Lights with all the, which just sounds like a noise, but you can clearly hear they're saying All the Lights. Mm-hmm. From what I understand, that is a combination of John Legend, The Dream, Ellie Jackson, Alicia Keys, Fergie, and Elton John. That is all of their voices just like melded into one like sound, which I think is so cool. Yeah. And
Elton John did the piano, didn't he? Or did I make that up?
I have no idea what Elton John did. I thought it was just a vocal. I can.
Hold on.
Yeah, if you want to look that up while we talk about the song. But this is where they kind of really start getting into like the story, in my opinion. And I know that obviously he's not taught. Well, so here's the thing. Everyone made a big deal about Jay-Z and Kanye having kids. Mm-hmm. Both of them have kids. They've had kids with baby mamas we don't hear about because those baby mamas aren't Kim Kardashian and Beyonce. So the fact that he's talking about having a turbulent relationship with his baby mama and like potentially getting into like having a hard time seeing his kid and getting into potentially like physical altercations, for the longest time I was like, oh, this is just his, like, he's making up a story. Like, but is it possible that he's just talking about himself? Because that's what he does. Like, he gets really personal on this. Is that? I don't know. I did some research. I couldn't find anything. But like, what do you, Brad? I guess in particular, what do you think the likelihood is that he's just being honest, and this is actually something that happened that was kept out of the public eye? Probably not.
I don't know. I don't like to speculate too much.
That's fair.
Something like this.
Like, yeah, because I guess I'm trying to keep it strictly to the music. It's just, if this is really about him, this opens up. Okay, let's just operate under the assumption that he's just telling a life story, maybe, or about himself. Maybe it happened before he got famous. Maybe whatever. Not a judgment on a character, but as far as the story of the record, which is really his story, this would explain a lot about him as a person. Where if it could be possible that if his first child is being kept from him for his own faults, then and him having to go through all that, then it kind of that may be why he's overcompensating and trying to fill that hole that family never filled with sex, drugs, and rock and roll, basically, and materialism and just fame and controversy. And if you notice, like, now that he's with Kim Kardashian, has a child, and has like a stable like family life, from what we can understand, he hasn't really gotten into any of this shit.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but from Genius.com, 5 contributors have upvoted 22 times. Let me read this excerpt. Kanye continues the story from the first verse, where the protagonist was sent away to prison for abusing the mother of his child. He's out now, but troubles haven't ended. The Kanye's fame allegory becomes ambiguous in this verse, but still applies. Here, his daughter is his music and creativity. His public image held him back creatively for a time, forcing him to deal with damage control instead of music.
All right. Well, we're getting into something I wanted to talk about a little early, but thank you for that, Ryan.
You're welcome. Oh, and to also, while we're going on a tangent, it was the intro is a musical interlude consisting of a cello with orchestra and piano played by Elton John leading into the song. The fanfare of trumpets then kick in for the hook. It uses snappy drums polished with some trippy delays on the vocals. A total of 14 uncredited artist vocals are incorporated into this part.
Wow.
14 uncredited.
Yeah. Well, that's, it's the janitor. There's a lot of janitors in Hawaii, studio janitors. Well, that gets into something that, you son of a bitch. Actually, you know what? I can still bring it up. I'll bring it up later.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, no, I'll bring it up now. Damn it. Okay. So, yes, I was going to go through all of this story as in it's about a specific woman, and who we, I guess, assume is the model that he dated forever, because he does bring up specific stories and stuff. But upon the re-listen, I was going to mention how you should also listen to it as if the woman he talks about throughout this story is actually his music career and is the public. And yeah, so we can do that both at the same time. It's all good. All right, so then it goes into the big hit off the record, Monster.
Wait, hold up. Before you go, and I want to say one last thing about All of the Lights.
Yeah.
More specifically, Genius.com's annotations. There's one line about taking a guy to Ghetto University.
Yep.
And one of the annotations on that lyric, there is a disclaimer that says, Ghetto University is not an accredited higher learning institution.
My credits won't transfer? If I want to go to, say, Thug College?
They will not.
Shit. Well, I guess I got another spend another 5 to 10 at Ghetto University. All right. So then, Monster. I can't believe you don't like the intro. You didn't recognize the guy who does the intro, Ryan?
When did I say I didn't like the intro?
Mr. Bon Iver? Yeah, that wasn't another big sell for you?
I have mixed feelings about Bon Iver, but that intro is dope.
Yeah. I didn't know this Bon Iver until just now.
I don't think they touched a lot of his voice for that, but when I'm not sure what song later Bon Iver does the intro, but they auto-tune it to hell, and it just kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
It's such a good voice, and I'm glad they let it shine through on this record, or this song.
Yeah. Yeah, sure did. I think you're misremembering it. That's why I'm laughing. It doesn't even sound. It just sounds like a noise. It sounds like a saw synth sound.
Whatever.
So I love that first Kanye verse. It's not even like lyrically fine. We can discuss it all day long, but I don't really. I like it. Don't really care how great it is. But what's great is his flow and cadence in that verse that matches up with the drums as they build. That is one of the greatest like rap verses I've ever heard, and it has nothing to do with the lyrics. And that just shows how good the cadence and the beat is behind it. That shit's insane. I guess I want to talk about two quick things with it, and then you guys tell me anything else you thought about Monster. Next, Jay-Z's line. He opens with Sasquatch, Godzilla, King Kong, Loch Ness Goblin, Ghoul, a zombie with no conscience. I want to clarify that a couple things about that. Oh my god, that Jay-Z believes that a zombie is like, that's not scary enough. I need a zombie with no conscience. Yeah. He's like, I've seen these movies where sometimes people could talk to zombies and they kind of remember their former selves. I need to make sure that the public knows that these zombies have no chance of coming back. These zombies have no chance of having any former consciousness. I have to point out that it is a zombie with no conscience.
One thing about, especially that Jay-Z bit, I felt like he was channeling his inner Colin Farrell in True Detective Season 2 and overacting.
Yeah, 6 years ahead of time. Well, that's probably true. But the other thing is, that towards the end of that, like people forget, Jay-Z was a goddamn drug dealer who had to deal with like that. That was his life. He was probably not gonna make, if he wasn't rapping, he wasn't gonna make it past whatever age without being killed or in jail. Like that's how the game goes, baby. And like he's reminding us, he's like, motherfuckers, do you remember where I came from? The things that I've seen, like the things that I've seen and that I've done, like all this millionaire shit of you trying to bum money and fame off me. I've been through way worse. Like you guys just need to back the fuck away right now. Like
I wasn't too impressed with Jay-Z's verse on this. Like I don't think
it's pretty bad.
It's like he's
Jesus.
I don't know, just not to his par. I don't think he's a great fit on the song Monster. Like Rick Ross was great because he has that kind of rough, gruff voice to him. Kanye too, but I feel like Jay-Z's too smooth for Monster.
I feel like Raekwon would have done better for this verse.
Ryan, that was the last sentence I ever thought you'd say. Raekwon would have been better for that verse.
Or Ghostface. If Ghostface run,
I need to take like a picture of you on Facebook and just caption that underneath it. It's just a picture of you looking like the way you do. I don't know. I think Raekwon would have done better on the Monster verse. Sorry, Jay.
But like Jay-Z seriously was. It did sound like he was being way over dramatic, and it just gave it this sense of inauthenticity.
He was probably there. He had to fly to goddamn Hawaii. He was probably there for like 2 minutes. He's like, I want to get back onto the beach. Do you know who my wife is?
However, Nicki Minaj pulled a full-on United States of Terror like a boss, and went in and out of I don't know how many characters, and that blew my mind. And her talents are completely being wasted on Anaconda.
That's true. I agree. The first 3 things I heard were her featuring on stuff, and just like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then she put out a record, and I was like, God damn it.
Yeah. She should have stuck before, she even mentions that. What was it, 50K for a verse, no album out?
I love that. Oh my God, that brag is fucking insane. God,
and I love this song because, it's basically making fun of this TMZ generation for criticizing Kanye and everyone else, but also fueling them because they're essentially, taking advantage of the stupidity of celebrity. It's what we want. It's what we're hungry for, yet we're mocking them for feeding us. And so they're continuing to feed us because it makes them money.
Any more on that, or can I go into the transition?
I love the production at the end.
Yes.
What's the line? Now look at what you just saw. This is what you live for. And it's like they really mess with the panning on that, and it's all over the place. It feels like she is a monster, swirling around your head, about to.
I'd have to listen again, but the last time I heard it, I thought I heard a couple animal sounds in there too. It's probably like a roar or something.
There's some grumbles and rumbles.
Yeah.
You just feel like you're in the jungle.
Yeah. No, it's fucking great. It's really great. And there's someone, I could just be remembering this wrong, but there's I feel like there's a line in here where somebody just says an animal and refers to them as a monster, and I thought that was pretty funny. Whatever, I could just be wrong. I was like, does Jay-Z think like a gorilla's a monster? Like, all right, so then Bon Iver comes back in at the end and does a beautiful, beautiful like transition. The I've crossed the line. I'll let God decide. I won't last these shows, so I'm headed home. And this, I think, even though All the Lights kind of starts with the story, and same with the opening track, but I feel like this is that transition where we're going from, all right, we just hit you with like 6 bangers, like 6 hit songs. Now we're gonna get into like the real like deep cut shit. With
which we definitely do next.
Yeah, with So Appalled. Now this one gets kind of weird. Now they really talk about just starts to go on like life as a celebrity, and we're not gonna talk about this as much. I think unless you guys have something specific, but he really is just talking about just how like crazy it is that they're what celebrity buys you in America. Like what not even wealth, just celebrity. And how all these are dudes who came from these poor as shit areas, and it really puts you in that mentality. And I know there's a lot of rap songs that do that, but it puts you in this mentality of like, holy shit, like we came from nothing, and now we have everything. And it wasn't until I was an adult where I could really wrap my head around what that means. Like that's crazy. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, there are several lines in this song that that really stood out to the point where I actually copy-pasted them from the lyrics page. One of them being, "That's why another goddamn dance track got a hurt. That's why I'd rather spit something that got a perp."
Yeah.
I mean that again is kind of this album in summary, I feel. Yep. And then the one, would you rather be underpaid or overrated? I mean, it seems like Kanye has made his decision. But it's interesting to see him making the struggle, especially on this record. Though it seems like this record leans more towards the perp than the dance track.
What I love is that the first time I heard this, and this just could be my misperception or whatever, is that the first time I heard it, I thought a lot of the lines were braggy, and then looking back, I was like, no, that's why they repeat the words "fucking ridiculous" over and over again. They're not saying like it's ridiculous how awesome I am. No, they're saying this is pure insanity. This should not be the way things are. Like, this is so crazy, you guys have to understand. Seriously, you guys.
I mean, going back into Monster, I mean, again, feeling that TMZ dinner, like they realize that this is complete bullshit, but they're doing it to survive in their, as overrated.
Brad, do you have anything before we move on to Devil in a New Dress?
Not really. I think So Appalled's probably my least favorite song on the album.
Me too. It's pretty far down there.
I'll also say that Swiss Beats sounds like Beck with Down syndrome.
Oh my god! Oh man. I hope that's the quote on the back of his next album. Riveting, 5 stars. The Source magazine. Swiss Beats sounds like who would you say?
Back
on that Down syndrome. Ryan Sweeney. Okay. So the next one, Devil in a New Dress. Now he's starting to. This is an extra weird song as far as just musically, but again,
I did not like this song. This is one. This is, if I could find any criticism about this record, it was definitely the song.
This is another one. I mean, there's moments in it that we can go through. I just wanted to. Okay, so. Yeah, so he does talk a lot about just more about what it is to be a celebrity, but he's speaking specifically more now to having a serious relationship while being a celebrity. And he is in a relationship before, like he had just broken up with, or been broken up with, his girlfriend of many years, who's a model. And so they both had a dual celebrity relationship for years, and he was now writing a lot more personally about his like his relationship and how it ended, which I think he teased in a couple of other songs. But now he's getting much more specific about what it's like to be in that situation. I always think that with art, you can either do, if you're storytelling anyway, you can do one of two things. You can either, one, you can make people relate to you. No one relates to Kanye West at this point. Like no one, like who could. with the exception of a few things, like those early tracks where he's talking in more generalities, you're not really relating to it. Or the second thing you can do, if you're not very good at writing things that relate to people, is to tell an interesting story. And Kanye has an opportunity with his life and his experiences, and he's one of those people who have the insight. Like, he was always I imagine he would probably have been a smart kid, smart teen, smart adult who went from rags to riches. There are plenty of people out there who we hear from who went from rags to riches but never had that insight or that intelligence to really look around and go and take in all their surroundings and then translate it in a way for the whole world to understand. So that's why I think Kanye has this unique opportunity to tell us about life, about a life that most people will never experience on both ends of the economic spectrum and the fame spectrum. And I think that he definitely sets this up nicely, which he'll go into. Let's see. Yeah, he'll go into on the later track. So I'll just go right to the next track because this is kind of like just a setup for Runaway. The only like 8-minute single since fucking Zeppelin or whatever. I'm trying to think the last time a band put out such a long song that did really well commercially. Let's see.
I mean, granted, I think the single version was definitely edited down, so it wasn't like the 9-minute or whatever version.
I fucking love this song.
Yeah, I mean, I love the beat. The chorus is hilarious, and the Sleepy Hollow throwback is great. Overall, I mean, the song made sense to me. It made sense as to why he ended up with Kim, and like based on this entire record, it seems like maybe he's with her as a result of some sort of like ironic defeat.
Here we go into Ryan's wild douchey conspiracy theories.
Wait, I missed that part. What did he say?
He said that after listening to this album, he can see how Kanye ended up with Kim out of some kind of ironic defeat.
Oh my god!
I give in. I just give in to the pressures of celebrity in the media. Oh my god! I mean, Ryan's douchey conspiracy theories.
With the single most useless, famous person.
I'd like to, have some middle ground on this, but it is weird. It's very weird to me that they got together.
I feel like you screw it. You all want celebrity.
The popular theory is that it's more about him. In his relationships, the only other serious relationships it sounds like he's had is with a model who he probably only saw every once in a while because they're both celebrities off doing their own things. And that's how whenever I read these celebrity autobiographies, all their relationships are essentially long distance. And they may go for a few months at a time where they're with their spouse, but then they're away for a long time, especially musicians. And so with him, I wouldn't be surprised if he just sees relationships as an extension of himself. It's like a hobby. It's like, I want to take up yo-yoing. And then, I'll spend a couple hours here, a couple hours there. That's like what I imagine a lot of those kind of marriages end up being like, or maybe, who knows. But
and we don't know what Kim's like in reality.
It's true. Well,
Ryan, I'm going to venture a guess and say that you probably haven't watched too much of Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
I think that Keeping Up with the Kardashians is bullshit pop culture fodder. That
you're not.
Have you watched it though? How much of it have you watched?
Yeah.
How much have you watched?
Are you caught up with the Kardashians?
0 minutes.
Okay. Well, then how can you have all this judgment on her if you've never even watched the show?
Because the news is everywhere about one.
One more minute, and then we're getting back on
like track. A bunny or something, and named him. Bruce or something. Like, I don't. That's useless. What good has she served this country? What good has Kim Kardashian bestowed upon the United States of America?
She helped create a human child whose name is Northwest. Do you have any idea how good that is for my fantasy football leagues? All my leagues, we have 3 divisions. One is North, one is West, and one is Kanye. And it's hands down the greatest
theory
you could have ever done. All right, one more minute, then we're gonna move on.
Yeah. My theory is that there is more to her. Like, they have a good family structure there. All those kids and the parents.
They're on the same reading level, coloring books.
Anyways.
I love that. All right, I'm just kidding. Go on.
And that's what Kanye was attracted to that, and also to her fame because he is in that same level of fame there, and I'm sure that's what is so fulfilling to him about that relationship.
There's There's a
completely disagree that they're in the same level of fame because Kanye is famous for actually having talent. And he
But they're still at the
married
same level of
Yeah, but
fame.
knocked up the least
right.
talented famous person.
Brad's talking quantity. You're talking quality. That's of fame. That's I see what you guys are doing. I see it. You guys are just you're on the same level, but not on the same page. Was that confusing enough to just awkwardly transition? Sweet.
Let's go for it.
So we go into Runaway. It's a continuation of this is the one, the Let's Have a Toast for the Douchebag, Have a Toast for the Assholes. That's how most people know the song. And I love that beginning. Just I always find a way to find or whatever. I always find something wrong. You've been putting up with my shit for way too long. And he starts like, it really is. The last song, he just referred to this woman as a devil in a new dress. She's the devil. She is Satan. And now he's like, actually, my bad, Satan. You're, it's like, it's a note to her. He's like, it's actually my fault. I'm digging to find something wrong. I'm the one being an asshole. And then he, plain as day, he can do this in a way that, like, I've only ever really heard Motion City Soundtrack do, where they go from, like, metaphor to literal so quick. And he's doing all this like metaphorical stuff, and then jumps into, she found pictures in my email. I sent this girl a picture of my dick. Like he just blatantly goes, "Oh, in case anybody was wondering why I'm so apologetic, let me just tell you all the horrible, horrible things that I have done." Because it really is. He is describing basically being completely unfaithful, but also being pissed off because she's like mad at him. for how unfaithful he's being. And I just real quick before you guys talk about the song, I want to say this. It is this Pusha T verse where he's just talking about
Wait, what song are we on?
Runaway.
Weren't we just talking about Runaway?
No, that was
We're still talking about it.
Yeah, we resumed.
Oh, we were still talking about Devil. Oh, I was talking about Runaway. I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Oh, okay, well we're fine. That's
we
fine.
moved on because we decided that it was leading into Run. You are misleading this entire conversation, Eric.
To recap, we're talking about Runaway, Pusha T verse. Are we all on the same lyrical sheet now?
Yeah, I guess
yes, we're all on the same page.
So he so the Pusha T verse, I brushed it off the first like 10 listens as he's just bragging about, being, famous and rich. He even says it, I'm just young, rich, and tasteless. But when I listened to it in the context of Kanye's thing, he's talking to his like wife or serious girlfriend, and he is saying, hey, I'm a celebrity. I'm going to go out and fuck whoever I want. And guess what? You can leave or you can stay. If you choose to stay, we're going to sit back, we're going to sip champagne, and you're going to live a lavish lifestyle that you'd never get to live unless you're with me. Oh, but if you're with me, I get to sleep around. But you don't. I do, you don't, because I'm a celebrity and I have a different status and you can't have it. If you don't like it and you don't want this lifestyle, you can just go, and that's fine. But I really love you, and I want you to be with me, but I just want to fuck other people. So what do you want to do it? He even says, every bag, every blouse, every bracelet comes with a price tag. Baby, face it. Fuck. The amount of honesty, and like you can say, like, what a shitty person, what a horror. He says he's tasteless. He's like, what a shitty person. How could you do that? How could you say you love someone, blah, blah, blah. Or you could even go into the, I can understand because of X, Y, and Z. You can put yourself in his shoes, whatever it is. Or you, like, because at least he's being honest, but it doesn't matter what you think of him. The brutal honesty.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if Kanye wrote that and just was like, I'm not going to be the one to say that out loud. you want to spot on the song? Say this, please. This is, I just thought that was just this unbelievable, like, unparamounted honesty.
Yeah.
And just, like, it's just dirty. And it makes me think about celebrity and how and if you let it trickle down to how relationships work, it really has that push and pull of, in a relationship, of love, sex, and financial stuff, that all three of those things shift throughout a life. And if you get married to somebody, especially young, the balance of the importance of those three things in a relationship shifts over time. And that's, I don't know, it's mind-blowing. It definitely opened my mind up. It's the dumbest thing that would open my mind up, but it definitely really made me think about stuff. So do you guys have anything else about Runaway?
I love it. I think it's one of the most. I think it's one of the most honest, like you said, honest and self-aware songs out of Kanye's whole career.
Yeah, it's just nuts.
I said all I was going to say when apparently we were still talking about Devil in the New Dress. Or whatever that song.
No, that one's gone. So Appalled and Devil in a New Dress are... Listen to them if you're in the middle of listening to the album and you want the whole experience, but you can blow... I wouldn't listen to them on their own. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, I want to hear So Appalled today. So then Hell of a Life, which is a really cool just story. It sounds...
It's also pretty messed up that it goes, like, a couple of lines from anal to slavery.
Well, that's Kanye for you. I just love, in short, without going into each section of the song, he just tells a story of... It's funny because I feel like when we get to Blame Game, he kind of recaps the previous 4 songs in a couple of verses. Probably I'm just reading too much into it, but he goes from this woman I'm with is the devil to it turns out I'm just banging other people and she's mad at me about that. But he's like, he's putting it on himself. Like, I don't know what to do. How should I be living my life? Then it goes into Hell of a Life, where it seems like he's just broken up or gone on a break, or he's just describing one of the times that he's cheating. Basically, he goes to it seems this is kind of how I interpreted it. He goes to a club, he gets real fucked up on God knows what, and starts hooking up with a porn star. And what he's doing is he's describing his super like high as shit mind of the process of meeting a porn star, dancing with her, going back and having sex with her. And he does things like you would think if you were like really fucked up, you're just like, I think I just fell in love. I'm gonna marry her. Like I'm gonna like all this stuff is just I don't know. It's like he puts you in that moment. Like you can, if you like just close your eyes, you can imagine being in that club and seeing that circle. I'm pretty sure they talk about banging in the bathroom. I could be wrong. I feel like they never. Yeah, in the bathroom. Fell in love with a porn star and got married in a bathroom. Honeymoon on the dance floor. Got divorced by the end of the night. It's one hell of a life. Like, that's the story, and and it's already in the context out of the context. It's a great like concept. In context, he's just describing a night of what ends up happening when he cheats.
That, or as some of the comments on Genius.com are alluding to, he somehow saw his future.
Oh, he saw his future? Oh, that's dumb. I don't like that theory at all. Oh, and then they bring back the have you lost your mind? No, wait. No, they haven't. My bad. Where is the...
I love the music on this. I think it fits the theme so well. Just like that kind of dark, dirty, like scuzzy kind of vibe to it, like of like being, drunk and on drugs or whatever. Maybe in a club finding a porn star.
Yeah. Well, he also says in those lines. By the way, the lines that somewhat what Ryan was talking about with the anal thing. I've on a couple of podcasts I've heard like they'd have porn stars as guests. The Champs has had a couple of porn stars as guests that like really will talk about like guys. Usually it's like the podcast will have like girl porn stars, but like when the guys are on, they'll tell all sorts of crazy shit. But like that line where he says the porn star says her price would go down if she ever fucked a black guy or do anal or do a gangbang. It's kind of crazy. That's all considered the same thing. That's true. Like if your status goes down if you do certain things, or the pay per, it's like you'd get more money for doing one of those quote unquote fetishes in the moment, but then your general like what it costs to book you goes down because now it's like you've done some wild stuff. And then, and so the fact that he's just making that comment, like, I think I'm sure he knows plenty of porn stars. He's mentioned that before. But, like, he just took the time in this story to, like, it somehow in context make that point of, hey, you think that's still kind of, if you don't think that there's, like, a general, like, racism in our just cultural makeup, like, that's a thing. It's the same thing in the porn world. And I just want to point that out. I thought that was really interesting.
I also like the nun line in this.
Yeah, I bet you did. Yeah, you like all the lines that I'm just like, oh, I bet all the 12-year-olds would like that line. Make a nun come. Actually, that's pretty funny.
No, that's the first one's the setup. The second one is make her cremate.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, I'm an idiot.
It's make a nun come, make her cremate. So not only is it a play on cremation, but of course the first part of that, as well as also...
Yeah, I like to imagine she's in her full garb.
Of sexual pleasure.
Oh, man. That's a fun... Okay, I didn't even notice that. All right, never mind. I take it back, Ryan. I am the idiot.
I have unrealized genius just like Kanye.
Yeah, I bet. And that website you're on. So Blame Game. This is my favorite song off the record. I love this song so much for so many ways.
John Legend kills it.
Yeah. So I have definitely been in a handful of relationships that were not particularly healthy. Definitely have been addicted to crazy from time to time. And so this is Kanye's opener. On a bathroom wall, I wrote, "I'd rather argue with you than be with someone else. I've made that argument to myself so many times. Took a piss and dismissed it, like fuck it, and went and found somebody else. Fuck arguing or harvesting the feelings. I'd rather be by my fucking self. Till 2 a.m., then I call back and hang up and start to blame myself." And then he said that, so I've been through a cycle like that so many goddamn times. So many times. It's like a mental illness. And then the last line of that verse, the beat drops and he goes, "Somebody help." And it's like, that just hit me so hard because I was like, yes, somebody please help. This is not okay. This is a terrible, terrible cycle and I cannot get out of it. Somebody help. And so oh man, it was so, and because the whole song, it really is like, this relationship is so fucked up at times, but I don't want to be with anybody else. I don't want to, but when it's good, it's so good. It's like a drug habit. When it's good, it's pure ecstasy. It's pure, adrenaline. But then a good chunk of the time, it's horrible, and it's withdrawal, and it's sickness, and it's depression. And he goes back and he goes throughout the song as his whole back and forth, and he even drops some of that honesty that I referred to in that Pusha T verse, where he says stuff like, what was it? "You should be grateful someone," paraphrasing here, "you should be grateful someone like me ever noticed you." Holy shit, he just acknowledging that, you are pretty much nobody. You are nothing. I made you, and now you're noticeable and can't nobody get a hold of you. And it's like, I made you who you are. Just being affiliated with me made you who you are. How dare you? Now this I don't relate to anymore. I'm not a celebrity. But just that he's now, it's all in real time. It's his struggle in his head in real time. And we get to hear him go back and forth and argue with himself and go from anger to sadness to forgiving to regret to, I don't know, it's just so amazing.
Well, and don't forget the metaphorical context that this is not necessarily about a woman, but rather about fame.
Yeah,
which makes
absolutely
it that much more.
Yeah.
I mean, because he makes it on something that's relatable to everyone. Makes a topic that is not relatable to everyone relatable to most everyone by bridging that. And I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's just this is just where it's all catching up to him finally.
Yeah, and it's all coming to a head. And as we know in real life, this relationship he's referring to is over. Hey, did you find anything on Genius.com about the Chris Rock phone call thing? By the way, I've looked up that website before. I like some of the theories they had, but I wasn't particularly sold on the music allegory. I read a bunch of things that people wrote, and if you listen to it again, the whole record, just thinking, oh, the whole time he's talking about music. It's cool. It's a cool listen, cool experiment, but it's it's a little bit of a stretch. I feel like you kind of have to force it into the mold. So I think it's a cool exercise, but it's not necessarily a good. I don't know if it's how accurate it is. I'm sure, you know what? I'm sure there's lots of different allegories from various lines where it's I can incorporate that into talking about what it's like to be in the public eye or be famous. But I don't think that's necessarily the story. I think that's just some add-ons he threw in. So is there anything about the Chris Rock thing? If that was a real conversation that he overheard, or if that was just not a real conversation. I should say, clarify. There's no way that she said Yeezy reupholstered my pussy. I sincerely doubt that. Although that line,
I'd say here Chris Rock, playing the role of Kanye's former girl's new guy, gives a series of compliments of how well she has improved under the sheets because of what Kanye taught her. Some say this is a direct stab at Wiz Khalifa and Amber Rose, the couple. However, one must remember that the album A Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy was released in November 2010, and the world didn't know about Amber and Wiz together until mid-January 2011. Plus, if you follow along, Chris Rock tells her how well she's improved. If Amber Rose went back to one of her previous boyfriends, it'd be a different story.
Yeah. That's yeah. What I love is what I really want to know is if that's just a Chris Rock improvising, because some of the time
This bit,
sounds
while
like
sounding like something Chris Rock would say doing stand-up, was a product of about 2 hours worth of recording.
so he probably just talked as the boyfriend and they cut it together. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's how Judd Apatow does all his like more improv-y scenes in his movies. So that's the same general concept. That's how home movies used to do it too. Just talk in the scene forever and then edit together to make something funny. That's where, yeah, because there's some of those lines where you could kind of hear two words in that like something clicks in Chris's head and he goes, "Oh, I know what to say next." There's even one line with the "Oh, you went to Bezel," where if you listen, he's clearly taking like a sip of water and came up with something to say and then like quickly swallowed it. But when I really, and even when the girl says Yeezy reupholstered my pussy, you can kind of hear her trying so hard not to laugh. Like that is insane.
The bezel is, sorry, I'm a little bit behind here. The bezel is just a reference to the watch. It's not right.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like it sounds like he was just taking a sip of water in between takes, right. And just like, yeah.
I didn't make it that far. This is where I had to kind of.
What, really?
Oh my god! The podcast wasn't, maybe if you delayed it like you normally do.
Yeah, no, sorry. I'm delaying my other one now for this. No, that's just so when I really break it down and just look at it on paper, because hearing it, it's sad and funny, but breaking it down on paper and just thinking about it as if it was a bit, like Chris Rock is such a funny person. This is unbelievable. Obviously, that's an understatement of the century. The guy's one of the most funny people on the planet. But he's like, just this little thing, it's so funny. It's so insanely funny how he does it. Yeah. Because he also, it's not from his perspective. Kanye probably told him, listen, what I want you to do, I want you to talk as the guy, but I want to make sure it's clear that she's improved herself. But I also want him to talk about himself in a negative light. Because if you listen, he like refers to him as like, yeah, I shouldn't be getting no pussy like this. Oh my god, it's just so, and the reupholstered thing is insane. And parts of Pussy Town, like that's, Chris Rock is a legend. he is the greatest. So very briefly, I want to talk about the closing songs. Lost in the World and we don't have to talk about Who Will Survive in America. That's just a general, socio-political commentary track that he.
That's Gil Scott-Heron, right? I mean,
yeah, it's the dude.
The fact that he used Gil Scott-Heron in this record was also pretty.
Well, Kanye, so Lost in the World. I mean, I'm trying to look through to see. I mean, he still has Gil Scott-Heron doing a bunch of stuff in there, but it really is just like. Yeah, he's just summarizing everything very quickly. It's not, he kind of lost in this plastic life. Let's break out of this fake ass party and turn it into a classic night. If we die in each other's arms, we'll get laid in the afterlife. If we die in each other's arms, we'll still get laid. Like it's just a bunch of he summarizes everything really, and has like the Bon Iver sample. Well, they redid it, but it's the Bon Iver song. But I don't know, like I think it's a really cool ending track, but in my eyes the story ends with Blame Game. Like there's not that's where we end.
Well, I think I just learned this. This is essentially a poem that he wrote to Kim Kardashian.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm glad you said that.
This kind of sets up so it kind of I feel like it fits as like the ending of the story, like all right, we've had all this like fame and just like women here and there. And he's ready to kind of settle down now.
Yeah. Well, that's really cool. Nice bookend. I'm glad I let you talk because I didn't realize it. It's a great bookend. Fantastic album. And so Ryan, just so you know, what's interesting is Kanye is super cocky in the media and in general and in interviews. But if you've ever seen any, there was one recently that was great. But if you ever see him interacting with fans, he's like. He loves his supporters. Like, there's a dude who came up to him. TMZ caught this recently. Brad, you might have even showed me this. Where the dude runs up to him. He's like, "Can you listen to my demo? Can you listen to hire me? I don't care. Like, just please hire me." And Kanye goes, "Yeah, spit something." It's like he's coming out of a club in the middle of the night, and he's like, "Yeah, go for it." So then the guy starts so the guy steps up to Kanye, gets pretty close, and his bodyguards kind of get in the way. And Kanye knows this guy's just a fan, and you see Kanye push. He goes, "No, he's good. It's good, man." He gets his bodyguards away. The guy's two like inches away from Kanye, rapping in his face, and Kanye goes, "All right, cool. Can you do something like written?" And the guy does like a verse, and Kanye goes, "All right, give my guy your information. It might be an internship. You might just be assisting for somebody, but if you're really serious about breaking into this business, give them my contact." And like that's just some random dude who walked in. Like that's how Kanye treats his people. Even if the guy didn't want a job, he still let the guy like freestyle for him. Let the guy talk to him. Let the guy like.
Yeah.
The dude loves his fans. The dude loves like everybody who's. Yeah. He just
wants to be the best. So he wants to interact with as many people and get as much. He wants to absorb everything he can.
If he was an athlete and his sport was celebrity, we wouldn't be criticizing him. We would be like, this is the Michael Jordan of celebrity. He wants to be the man. He doesn't care what it takes. He will work so hard to be that. And that, yeah.
Everything I read, like people writing their accounts of it, of like running into him somewhere out in public, have been like, yeah, he just like talked to me about like what kind of music I was listening to lately, and he wants to know what I like, and like talk to them like they were people, not just like, hey, here's your autograph, now get away.
Yep. All right, so any last thoughts? I just want to wrap this up. I think we've done pretty.
As someone who has not heard this record before and really hasn't really given, Kanye the time of day for.
But I bet you talked a ton of shit about him before this, though, right?
Of course.
Right. Because some blog told you to.
Not Pitchfork.
Anyways, so in conclusion, from my end, I feel like for as much
this week on Rubbing It In with Brad Hartland. Sorry, keep going. Right.
Can I finish?
Yeah. Okay, Kanye. Kanye, I'm gonna let you finish.
Now you know what it's like, Ryan.
Now I can self-identify with T Swift.
R Swift, yeah. Okay.
R Swift. So I feel like as much self-realized ego that lives inside Kanye, it's not his dark twisted fantasy, but the dark twisted fantasy of the collective us as we fillet fame to the point where we make it hard for musicians and celebrities to stop fucking around and do something meaningful but relatively unprofitable. It's been over 4 hours, but there's not a doctor in sight.
Is this from Genius.com?
No, this is my.
I know. It was good. It was well written. I liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All
right, sweet.
Get it?
And we're gonna end on that. Thank you guguys for watching the Try Hards podcast. You'll catch us later. See ya.
See ya.
Peace.